I made a lot of mistakes when I first started going to the gym, and it cost me a whole lot of time, energy, and motivation. Now, some of those mistakes were necessary, and I'm glad I went through them. But honestly, I think I could have avoided most of them if someone had just warned me. The first biggest mistake is that I took the wrong examples. What I mean by that is that I was on social media a lot. I was learning off of YouTube and Instagram, and I was copying advanced lifters, their workouts, their way of lifting, their kind of mindset. So I was a skinny boy at 17 trying to understand how the gym works and trying to lift as heavy as those people as I would see on YouTube or Instagram. And that just doesn't work like that. So I would do a whole lot of volume. I would do 9 exercises per session. It would last an hour and a half. That was crazy. And that was way too much volume, in fact, for the level that I had at the time. And I was still afraid, a little bit anxious to push myself. So in my mind, I could compensate the lack of intensity with more volume. But it doesn't work like that. And if you're starting to train, you have to first understand what you're doing before you're adding more volume or adding more intensity on top of your training right now. So your training should consist in a few exercises, fundamental movements, patterns that you have to learn for you to basically just grasp what you're doing at the gym and trying to be safe in this new environment. In the beginning, that's only what you should be doing. Don't start telling yourself that you need to push those weights. Don't start telling yourself that you need to go for crazy volume like I did, because that led to a whole lot of downsides that I didn't expect at the time. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I experienced constant fatigue, not a lot of progress, and burnout early on when it comes to my joints and my mindset. And the thing is that it's okay to seek examples, because at the time, it's still what got me to train consistently. Those guys that were telling me to go for push-pull legs or whatever it might be for you. But you have to make sure that you're following beginner's advice. You shouldn't take the advice of someone that's talking to advanced lifters, which was my mistake, because you can't copy someone that has been doing this for a decade while it's your first day in the gym and you don't even know how to perform a squat. Because if you do that, you're going to skip some important steps and you're going to end up just like me, loading your squat where you don't have a good technique, breaking your back. So you have to take someone that's one step ahead of you. That's really important. Second mistake was to not eat enough. And when I say not eat enough, could be the right quantities of the right macronutrients or calories just in general. And maybe it's not your case, but I started as a broken and skinny student looking to build muscle mass. And at the time, I wasn't hitting my calorie needs, and I definitely wasn't getting enough protein. If you want to build muscle, you have to know that it takes energy to build those muscles. And if you've already started going to the gym, then it's going to require a whole lot of nutrients, the right ones, in the right quantities for you to be able to build muscle. That's if you have a training that's appropriate. You have to make sure that you have more than what your body is using on a daily basis, so that your body can recover properly from the exercise and still be able to build muscle. Now, that's true for calories if you're looking to build muscle mass and not to lose fat at the moment, but that's also true for protein. And when it comes to protein, you have to know that it's probably much more than what you anticipate it to be. And the rule that we use as coaches is around 1 gram per pound of body weights per day. So if you're 150 pounds, then you try and reach 150 grams of protein per day. Why is it important? Because if you don't have those requirements, your recovery is going to suck, like mine did at the time. I was so tired all the time. I was falling asleep in class. My digestion was off because I was trying to stuff as much food as possible, but it was separated into big meals, but just a few of them, 2 or 3. Digestion was off. I wasn't growing, and I was always sluggish. I was always feeling like I could nap all day. And that was because of the quantity I was ingesting. You shouldn't think that the only important stuff is to train. There are 3 pillars when it comes to getting results. They're training, nutrition, and recovery. And you should follow all of those if you want optimal results. Now, mistake number 3 was close to the mistake number 2, but at the same time, it's not the same. It was that I had no meal schedule. My eating schedule was chaotic. Some days I was overeating, and other days I was just barely eating at all because I didn't plan or prep or buy any food that day. So I had class, I wouldn't eat during class, I would just drink my shakes because I was anxious about eating in front of people and I was lazy to prep my meals in advance. I didn't have any meal structure because I didn't know anything about nutrition in order to craft one. Again, I was procrastinating all the time when it came to cooking because I don't like that. But the problem is that, again, this is a fundamental pillar of training, nutrition. If you don't have the right nutrition, if you don't have the right fuel, you're not going to build muscle. And that's just the reality. And the mistake is that I thought I needed crazy cooking skills in order to be able to meal prep, in order to be able to craft balanced meals that would get me to my goals. But the thing is, you don't need any of that. You don't need any cooking skills, you don't need any cooking class. And I thought that I couldn't cook for shit too. But if you can't put chicken on a tray, cook rice in a pan or in a pot, whatever you call it, and chop some vegetables, then you have everything that's required in order to build muscle. Now, I'm kind of joking, but I'm half joking. Now, I would say that the most important is that you understand basic nutrition, what food contains what type of macros. That is going to do it for you. That's pretty much what you have to understand, how to use the food and your intake in order to get the best out of it. And so again, if I could talk to myself, to my younger self, and tell this young boy that he should pay attention to his nutrition and get it fixed, then I would. Mistake number 4, poor sleep habits. I stayed up late. I was partying. Most of the times I was studying too. Or I was just chilling and watching Netflix until 1 a.m. And that crushed my ability to train and recover properly. And you kind of feel it the next day. If you haven't been sleeping right, if you have been sleeping only a few hours and you go train really hard the next day, you feel like everything's really heavy because your nervous system is just not in proper shape in order to lift because it didn't get the recovery that you needed from the sleep that you had. And especially with all the volume that I was doing, so the 9 exercises because I wanted to become a world-class bodybuilder, my joints and nervous system were just shot all the time. And I was feeling like I was about to die. It took me years to treat sleep as something that's as important as training and to recover from all the volume that I was doing at the time. Now, you have to understand that it's a whole category. Recovery is not just about sleep. It's also about resting, relaxation, stress management. So all the things that are calming your nervous system, your system in general, and that are allowing it to recover from everything, every stressor that you've encountered during the day is part of recovery. And in my case, because of the student schedule and the deadlines and the lack of stress management, stress and anxiety, they messed up my training really bad. And you shouldn't underestimate the impact that it can have on your training and your progress. And the lesson here is that sleep is even more important than the training or the nutrition, because this is what is going to allow you to take care of nutrition and make better food choices and to train hard enough to build muscle. So in other words, bad sleep equals no gains at all. And again, those 3 pillars, it's fundamental that I understand that. Those 3 pillars are the foundation of your potential progress and results. It's training, it's recovery, and it's nutrition. And this is why I built the course Fitness Autonomy around those 3 pillars, because people don't get those right. They get the training right most of the time, sometimes nutrition, but never the 3 pillars. This is why they're not getting results. So by the way, there's 80% off of the course. You're gonna find it in the description or wherever I'm gonna put it. Mistake number 5 is thinking that the progress is linear. It's really not. I thought in the beginning that I could stack gains every week, and it didn't work like that. I thought I could improve on my list and put 5 pounds on my bench press every single week, but it didn't work like that. I was expecting progress to be linear because, why not? But some weeks I was just unmotivated and I felt broken because my nervous system was shot and I didn't have the proper recovery and nutrition to go with the training. And what I would tell myself is that progress is never going to be a straight line. You have to accept plateaus, setbacks, and maybe even injuries if you're not careful with your lifts, and that's part of the game. People usually think that they're going to skyrocket and that if they just have the right information, they're going to progress. But it doesn't work like that, because in the beginning, progress also contains a margin of mistakes that are going to have to make, like I did, and what I'm trying to get you to avoid, or at least avoid some of them. Because the thing is that if you expect your progress to be linear, your mindset will crush you, and you will not be able to keep working out, keep taking care of your nutrition if you expect it to be perfect. That's just not realistic. Some weeks you will have to deal with because you're tired. On stressful work weeks, you will have to cut your session short because you just don't have enough time. And that's okay. That's part of the process. As long as you're mindful about it and you do your best when it comes to those 3 pillars, you're going to make progress over time. But that might take you more time than you anticipated. And the last mistake was to chase the look, not the feeling. When I started, probably like most people, I wanted to train because I wanted to change the way I looked. I wanted to be more muscular. I wanted to have a better shape. But the problem is that your self-perception, so the perception that you have of yourself, is never objective. And you shouldn't rely on it if you want to keep going. Because someday I felt small and weak, and I felt like I wasn't progressing at all. I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I saw no change whatsoever. Was clearly putting on muscle, and that my body was adapting, and that the scale was going up. Sometimes, and depending on the mood and the situation you're in and the stressors in your life, you will feel like you're stalling, and that's the worst sensation, and that's the worst feeling. Social media made it even worse, and that's why nowadays I don't think, if you're going for training and really serious about it, I don't think you should be on social media, except maybe YouTube because you want to get the information right, but not TikTok, no Instagram, because those apps, they led me to constantly compare myself to physiques that aren't even real. And so over time, I just realized that chasing the body alone isn't enough, and that's not what was going to keep me going. But the thing is, if you're going for it because you want the feeling of progressing, because you enjoy the game, you like the process, the real payoff is mental. You have more confidence, you have better focus, you have better memory, better clear head. You go to sleep easy on night and you don't have any problems. You have to switch your mindset into thinking that, convincing yourself that this is the reason why you're doing all of this, for the mental benefits of it. The body is going to follow, but it's not the most important, because if you focus on the looks, the appearance, you're never going to be satisfied ever with the progress that you're making. So anyway, I hope that me telling you all of this helps. And in the meantime, is just trust the process.